Welcome back to another episode of the Career Evolved podcast. And I'm your host, Olivia Gamber, and I'm going to dive right in to a strategy and approach for you to stand out and take really full control of your career in this post AI job market. Because anyone that's been in the job market knows this is one of the craziest markets we've seen in a long time. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of fear. And, I've been doing this for a decade. I've spoken to thousands of executives. I've seen a lot of markets. And this is similar to 2020 when there was COVID and, businesses were shut down. People couldn't go to work in person. And that was a completely disrupted market. Whereas in this situation, it's being more disrupted by AI. So what's happening now is we've got people using AI to apply to hundreds of jobs at the click of a mouse. We've got people using AI to optimize their resume and inflate their resume. And so now we've got AI profiles, AI resumes, AI applications, and all the job boards are completely saturated. Hiring managers are overwhelmed. They don't have the time or resources to go through all these applications. Recruiters are becoming less and less relevant because they're being replaced by AI because most recruiters are just checking boxes comparing, a resume to the job board and the posting and checking whether they're qualified and screening on that and pushing them forward when that's now being done by a robot. And many of these companies are now doing the first level screening with AI where it's a video interview with no human involved at all. So, where does that leave you as a leader, as an executive, as a high achiever that wants to get visibility for your career? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today because you can't use the old way. I repeat, you cannot rely on recruiters, HR, resumes. And this is a really tough pill for a lot of executives to really swallow because my team and I, we speak to hundreds of executives every single week. And there's a big misconception. They think, I just need to talk to an executive recruiter. I just need somebody that's going to place me. And that couldn't be furthest from the truth because, quite frankly, a lot of companies are not willing to pay an outside recruiter an additional 30% on top of your salary. They're looking to cut expenses, not spend more to find talent. And so where do you go from here? Because if it's never been really a challenge for you to get opportunities in your career, and now you find yourself struggling to even get relevance, let alone visibility, it can be pretty scary. But here's the good news. There's more than enough opportunity, and it's actually never been easier for you to actually create demand in this market because we live in a world now where a lot of executive jobs are being done remotely. And that means you can target the whole country or the whole world for that matter and be able to get high quality opportunities. The challenge is you can't do it the way you've always done it. So you have to be willing to evolve and you have to be willing to really own your value and be willing to proactively promote that value. Because if not, you're going to be sitting there waiting for a call and you're going to be waiting a lot longer than normal. So if you've traditionally relied on your resume, the brands on your profile, the title, the authority on your resume, or where you went to school and those types of credentials, that's no longer enough to compete at this 150 plus level. So instead, because there's so many people with these optimized profiles and resumes, leaders are struggling to know who the real deal is. They're struggling to know who's going to actually deliver, who's going to drive results, who can they trust to come in and navigate these challenges. And that's where the career evolved method comes in. So I'm going to be sharing with you a proven system that's been tested now on thousands of executives. And we iterate on this process every single year. And this is the most efficient way for you to get executive interviews and offers. And this is not my opinion. We've been doing this over and over again, and we see this happen every day, every week, executives are getting offers that pay 150, 200, 300K plus, bonus, stock options, and all of these roles, most are being filled before they're ever posted. They're filled through quiet conversations. And so this is one of the biggest paradigm shifts a lot of folks are struggling with. You can't just think about job openings and postings and resumes. Instead, you need to shift your thinking towards people, leaders with big business problems, and you are the solution and positioning yourself as that solution. So this is a huge shift for a lot of leaders because they're stuck talking about resumes and qualifications, and that's become white noise because it's just not relevant. And the executives at the top level that can pay you 150 plus, they have the attention span of a fly. So they don't want to read your resume. And, I don't want to go as far as saying the resume is dead, but when you're competing at the top level and everyone's got a brilliant AI optimized resume, it's no longer got the pull it used to. And so now it's more about your ability to be relevant and to get that visibility and to build these strategic relationships. So let's dive right in. So the first step of the career evolve method is the identity transformation. Now, a lot of times we have leaders that are ready to get into tactics, just put me in the room and I've got it from there. But the reality is, if you can't even get in the room and you can't even get the visibility, you definitely aren't ready to hold the room and really command that value. So the first step is really getting absolute conviction and clarity in why is it a bargain to hire me at 150 plus? Why is it a bargain to hire me at 200K, 300K? How am I going to 10x that ROI? Because what these leaders are thinking right now is really, let's say you're earning 20K a month and that big executive salary. They're thinking, how fast am I going to make back that 20K a month? And if you're not crystal clear on the value you offer and how you're going to 10x that value, and you don't have the conviction behind it, there's no way you're going to be able to command interest at that level, let alone command the salary and close the deal. So a lot of times people logically know their value. I know I'm worth 250. I see other people who I'm smarter than getting this money. But there's a difference between knowing logically what you're worth and actually being the leader that can command that value in this market. They're two different identities and two different skill sets. And you're gonna hear this saying, I say it all the time at Career Evolved, and I mention it a lot in my book, The 150 Plus Club, that we actually offer for free a PDF copy of this book on our website at careerevolved.com. So you can check that out if you want a free copy to go deeper into this method. But really, I say the universe rewards who you are, not what you want. And so what that means is you can have the best credentials, you can have so much value, but if you aren't the type of person that can influence and command that value and communicate that clearly and be able to really get people to experience that through the conversations, then you're not going to get it. Because really, the difference between 150 and 250, it's not even credentials, it's identity. It's that leadership profile because at this level, I keep saying it, right? Everyone's qualified, but not everyone has that presence, that influence, and the energy and conviction. And that's why at Career Evolve, we put our clients under a microscope. We work on their energy. We talk about their brand, their positioning, their values. Because when you're talking to CEOs, C suites, or VPs, everybody's great at this level. Everyone's excellent. So it's more about your ability to attune and be aligned to that leader, that mission, and be relevant. And that's a identity less than a skill set. It's a presence and it's an energy. So that's critical. Those leadership signals, they're sizing you up in just a few minutes. And I talk to high level leaders all the time. They're sizing you up instantly on the signals that you're sending. And 80% of communication is nonverbal. It's how you're showing up. The next step in the career evolve method is the career redesign. Now, the career redesign, I'm not talking about your resume. I'm not talking about your LinkedIn profile. Yes, those are materials and marketing assets that do play a role, but this is more about your positioning and your target audience. So, what we need to get clarity on and what you need to focus on is who do I want to serve and what problems do I solve? And the key here is to have a clear and concise and compelling value proposition that's relevant to those executives that can hire you. Because at this level, most of the roles are filled before they're posted. So the challenge with a lot of folks is they're leading with their resume, they're letting everyone know they're looking for a job, and then it's crickets. And that's because no one really cares that you're looking for a job. I mean, they might care, but they don't really have the time to help you, nor do they have the time to read your resume and then go decide who can I send this to. So a lot of times you just get a nice kind of courtesy, sure, I'll keep an eye out or I'll forward this to HR and it goes nowhere, right? That's not a strategy and that adds value to no one. So if you just let everyone know you're looking, it's going to go nowhere because no one really cares, and the fact that you're looking for opportunity doesn't add value to anyone. So instead, what we found is the best way to create demand. This episode is sponsored by Career Evolved, and are you ready for a career breakthrough? And what I mean by breakthrough is, are you ready to finally get paid your true value and also feel inspired and aligned with your work, aligned with the leadership team, and actually getting the purpose and the impact that makes you feel fulfilled at the end of your workday? If so, I would encourage you to schedule a free 1 hour breakthrough session with us to get to the bottom of what are the key gaps that are stopping you from making this breakthrough? What are your goals? And then once we get clarity on that, if we can help, we'll tell you exactly how. If not, you'll still leave with value and clarity. And this is a free 1 hour consultation. We do need to make sure you're qualified for this. We are targeting those who have executive level management leadership skills. Those are the best fit and alignment for the Career Evolved process and community. So if this sounds like you, go ahead and head to www.careerevolved.com/schedule. That's www.careerevolved.com/schedule. Go ahead, select a time, answer the questions, and we will go deep and we will get to the truth on what's stopping you and plan the next steps from there. Now I'll let you get back to the podcast. An interest with these decision makers, with these high level leaders, is they don't really have time to do generic networking calls. They don't have time to just get on a call for you to quick pick their brain. That's not really compelling and it feels like work, right? So instead, you need to be relevant and you need to lead with value. And so, what we found is the best way to get their interest and having a quick call with you is for you to position yourself around one or two bleeding neck business problems, problems that they can't ignore. So, the reason you get paid 150, 200 plus is because you solve really big business problems and problems that cannot be ignored. So now, if you're marketing and positioning around big problems and positioning yourself as a solution, now there's value and there's a purpose and intention for them to get on that quick introduction call with you. And that's really the name of the game, right? You need more executives that can pay you 150 plus to know who you are and the value you bring. And this is really all about clear and concise positioning because, like I said, these executives, they have the attention span of a fly and they don't want to read your resume. But if you are relevant to their priorities and you solve big problems that they need solving, then of course they're going to get on a quick call because it's relevant. Now you get to lead the call demonstrating value and actually providing relevant value and insight that they need right now. And that's how you create demand. And so we see this every day in Career Vault. We see executives starting with a 15-minute call with a C-suite executive that quickly turns into an hour. And now they want to bring you in to meet their team, and it escalates from there. So that's how these everybody's talking about the hidden job market, but very few people are executing this because there's so many recruiters and career coaches and a lot of noise talking about just get out there and network and get into the hidden job market. But this isn't that simple. You need to know high level marketing and positioning. And it's not about writing paragraphs and pitching and cover letters. You're asking for too much attention right out the gate. You need a really good, clear, and concise hook and an entry point for a conversation because every interview opportunity starts with the conversation. And there's no faster way for you to generate demand for your talents as an executive than having more conversations with decision makers every single week. So once you get the right audience and the right message, then it's all downhill from there. It's all about getting that message in front of more executives who can hire you. And that's the best way to really generate demand. And so that's where we really spend the most of the time in this career bulb method is through our career promoter process. And this is the name of the game, right? You need more executives to know who you are and the value you bring. And the key is to convert these executives into career promoters who want to advocate for you. So that's the key because a lot of people think, well, they don't have a job, they don't have a job, they don't have a job. And they're thinking about this so transactional. And then they kill their pipeline of opportunities because they're looking either this person has a job or they can't help me. Think, and then they move on and they burn through these contacts. But where the most opportunity is at that second degree of connection. So really the key is if you're really good at this and some of our best clients, they're converting half their calls into career promoters who want to endorse them and promote them. And this is such an emotional sale. And a lot of people get frustrated with this because it's not just about your qualifications and value, it's also social. So it's like 50% value, 50% social. Because whether you like it or not, if that executive doesn't wanna have a beer with you or they don't have great rapport with you, they're not gonna wanna promote you. They're not gonna wanna endorse you. They're not gonna wanna advocate you, and they're definitely not gonna wanna hire you. So this is where it's really important to hone in on that EQ and social intelligence, and every little detail is so important at this level. So it's less about just do you need me right now? Here's the value. And it's more about emotional attunement and emotional resonance. And so these leaders want people that also align with their mission and align with their values and interests because that's what creates the rapport. And the trust is then built on that foundation of rapport. And then the value is what determines really how far that can go and how relevant that value is. So your ability to attune and be resonating with them is key. And so our process is all about this consistent connection strategy because it's rapport that opens the door. And then it's the value that really keeps that conversation going and your ability to demonstrate that value. And so this is what we found is the most effective and efficient way to generate these 150 plus interviews and offers. It's really the only way to do it in this market because what we're seeing over and over again is nobody really has time to go through hundreds of applicants. None of these executives really want to do 20 interviews just to fill a role. They're too busy. They would prefer that if you're having these great calls and you're demonstrating value and building rapport, they got so much value, but maybe they don't need you right now. Or maybe someone else in another business unit does. So now they've seen enough value, they've got enough rapport. Now they're willing to endorse and introduce you to an opportunity. And that's how this game works. It's building strategic relationships at scale. And this is what brand building is. This is what brand awareness is. So think of this as a demand generation marketing campaign. You're a premium product, you're a premium business solution. You solve really big problems, and the more people that get a taste of that value on a quick call, the more exposure and visibility you get, and the more opportunities you get because people are now willing to promote, endorse, and refer you. And so if you're just treating it like a one and done transaction, you're probably not getting past that first degree. And this is where a lot of people struggle because if they don't see a job opening, they don't know how to create demand. And this is a skill. It's something that you really need to learn as an executive because most of these roles are filled through quiet conversations, not through job postings. So again, you need to be thinking about this as a marketing campaign and you are the one promoting and there's no one that can do this for you because you're the one that has to build the rapport and trust. It's your brand, you're the product. And so many people want to outsource this. They want to pay someone to give them a job or they want a recruiter to place them and those days are gone. You've now got to own your brand and your value and be able to establish these connections and this is what we found is the most effective and efficient way to generate these interviews because in this post AI world, everyone looks good on paper. Everyone's got a great resume. Everyone's making all kinds of claims, but leaders trust what they see. They trust their instincts. So being able to meet you, see you on a quick Zoom meeting or have a quick phone call, they're able to suss out value pretty quick in a few minutes. And that's the key for you to generate more interviews. And at Career Evolve, we do this all day, every day. We have an entire executive community that's really committed to not only collaborating, but promoting and also endorsing each other. So we're able to quickly build pipeline and accelerate through our community. And this is why we're so skilled at getting folks to open doors that they didn't even know were possible because really one phone call can change your life. You don't know which one it's going to be. That's why you've got to be activating these connections and having these calls every week and learning how to properly position value. Because if you've got value to deliver to the market and you're delivering that value consistently, that value is going to come back. That's the entire point of a demand generation campaign. So the next step, and the last step really here is the consultative selling process. So when you get a decision maker in front of you and they have a problem and they need it solved right now, that's a prime opportunity where this is a qualified opportunity now. And when there's not a job posting, people get confused. They're like, what do I do? How do I approach this situation? Well, this is the perfect opportunity because there's no competition. It's just you. And so the key is to have a conversation that's gonna stand out. And you don't wanna talk about your resume. You don't wanna talk about your background because that's white noise. It may or may not be relevant. Instead, you wanna uncover the 2 to 3 burning hot button issues that are gonna lead to that decision for them to hire you. And this is a much more emotional sale. And it's really about leveraging your most relevant experience and speaking to that decision maker's deepest desires in their language, so mirroring their language. And if you can keep their attention and continue to demonstrate what it's like to actually work with you by demonstrating value and how you're going to solve those problems, now they're getting excited about bringing you in because they're seeing what you're going to do. Versus if you talk about your resume and your past, that's not relevant and you're going to lose their attention and you're creating more friction and objections. So this consultative selling process is the best way to stand out because I've interviewed thousands of executives. They all start to sound the same. It's question ask, question answer, talk about your background, and it's like white noise. This process allows you to be a more active influencer and driver of the conversation. And once you're able to demonstrate that you not only understand their problem better than they do, but you're also demonstrating value in the moment on how you can solve it, then you become the only viable solution. And now there's momentum to keep going and move that process forward. And so this is what we're finding is the best way to convert these interviews and conversations into opportunities and offers. So if this resonated with you and you are ready to evolve and go deeper on this process, I would invite you to go to careerevolved.com and that's careerevolved.com. And there's where you can get a free copy of the 150K Plus Club. And this goes deeper into this strategy and process that will really it's a quick 1 hour read and you're able to really digest, this is the only way to do it. And if you're going to really get relevant in this post AI world, you need to learn how to not only represent your own value, but how to effectively promote that and build these strategic relationships. Because if you're still waiting for a recruiter to call or a recruiter to save you, or you want to pay someone to just do it for you, I'm sorry, but none of those solutions work because if they're just using an AI to fill your calendar with interviews, the quality is going to be low and quite frankly, the likelihood of that converting into an offer is extremely low because the odds of getting 150 plus from a cold application are extremely low. That does not convert. And this is not my opinion. I just spoke to a CFO last week. He did 3,000 automated applications through one of our competitors. I think he invested like $10,000 and they did all this automation and he got maybe a couple interviews and they weren't high quality. So there's just a lot of hype out there. And unfortunately, there's no easy button here. You have to evolve. You have to own it. You have to be adaptable. So if you're ready to evolve and shift your process and get in the game, I encourage you to go to www.careervault.com. Go ahead, get the free copy of PDF copy of the book. It's just a quick 1 hour read, and you will get fresh insight on a proven process that's working right now. Please share this with anyone you know that's either in career transition, looking to make a move, because there's more than enough opportunity right now. You just can't go about it the same way you always have. I hope you guys enjoy the book and you hope you enjoyed the episode. I appreciate you listening this far and I wish you all the best. See you next time.